Alright, so it was crazy how much hate the day before it got, purely because its similarities to the Division franchise. There's a bunch of Division stands in the comments like, oh my gosh, you stole the entire Division setting. You're such hypocrites. You guys literally stole from the Division. Division is so much better than this game, even though the game isn't even out yet. But yeah, I just thought it was really strange how all these weirdos were like, the day before is basically just a copy of the Division with zombies. Da, 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 da. Like, bro, stop it. You barely know what you're talking about. Just because two games look the same does not make them the same game. And I'm gonna spend the time in this video to prove why the day before is not the Division. Now, of course, before I even start this video, I have not played the day before. I only have the trailers and the general information given to us by the developers to go off of. I haven't played the game. It's not out yet. Literally doesn't exist, basically. At least not for normal people like me. So I have no idea how the game is gonna ship other than the trailers and stuff. I'm assuming it's going to look like that. You never even know. But I only have the trailers to go on. So please don't go in the comments talking about, see bro, it's exactly the Division with zombies. Like, bro, I gave y'all a whole disclaimer. Don't do that. Don't be that dude, all right? Don't be that guy. You don't want to be Bob in the comments talking about, see, I told you it was going to be exactly like the Division, but it's not. Okay, stop it. Stop it, bro. Calm down. Chill. Take a deep breath, Division stand. Ooh, woosah, breathe. Take a chill pill, bro. All right, probably like 30, 45. Let's be honest, the Division players, most of them are like old dudes. No offense, but I'm just saying their demographic is a lot older than other demographics. There's no reason to be this stressed over nonsense on the internet. Chill, bro. Chill before you have a heart attack. You ain't got that much time left. The average Division player, bro, y'all only got a couple years, man. Y'all need to enjoy while they last. But for real, yes, the day before is a similar looking game to the Division. No duh. They're both set in a freaking metropolis type city. It looks like New York or something, but I mean, I don't live in New York. I've never been to New York. I've seen lots of pictures of New York, and I can tell you right now, every city that I've been to in every other state, even the rundown bummy states, look pretty similar to New York. They don't look exactly the same, but they look fairly similar. Like, unless you live in New York and you know your crap, you could probably get them mixed up to some extent, all right? So yeah, they're gonna look the same. They're also very realistic games. They both have real people. There's not aliens. You don't play as a giraffe. Like, I don't, like, how could you distinguish yourself from the Division with a game where you play as random dudes with guns running around a city and shooting stuff with a level of mixed PvP, PvE combat? Yeah, they're similar ideas to some extent, but they're very, very different. The main difference probably being survival versus looter shooter. Division and Division 2 are both looter shooters. They're both open world looter shooters with like instance missions to some extent. The day before, as far as we know, is just a open world survival game. It has for survival mechanics. You have to worry about things like hunger, thirst, energy probably, or something like that. You have to drive around in cars. You have to repair your vehicle based on some of the trailers that I've seen. The game is fairly different compared to, say, the Division. It's not the same. I've played hundreds of hours of Division 1 and Division 2. You never drive a car. Ever. There aren't really any survival mechanics at all except for the survival game mode. I guess you could compare them to some extent, but to say that they're just stealing from the Division is nonsense. Let's be honest. Come on now, y'all are reaching. Any realistic looking game that has a survival mode is gonna look like the Division. It is what it is. Like, they're both realistic looking game. Every Tom Clancy game looks exactly the same. Are we gonna act like Splinter Cell and the Division are basically the same game? No, they're not. They're very, very different. They have similarities, of course, but they're almost nothing alike. The premise of the video games are completely different. Don't be that dude. Just don't. Next, we have zombies versus like normal soldier type dudes in the Division. The Day Before is mainly a PvE VP game. So you're in a world, open world, surviving the zombie apocalypse, surviving from the elements, hunger, thirst, everything that has to do with survival. And you have random other players that can and probably will murder you in the process, all right? So it is a survival game, but it also has zombies. Now, there may or may not be normal NPC people in the game, and honestly, whether or not that exists or not is completely irrelevant, because the fact that they have zombies, that alone is going to distinguish this game vastly from the Division, because the Division refused to add zombies. No matter how much people asked for them, they never did. There's nothing wrong with a game seeing that another game, a similar game that maybe they liked in the past or something like that, had something that people were asking for, because the community has been begging, practically on their knees, praying to Jesus himself, begging that the Division added zombies. Did they do it? No, they did not. Never. They never added zombies to the Division. So there's nothing wrong with another developer saying that, hey, these people want zombies in a realistic shooter, and making a realistic shooter that has zombies. And then, of course, they have survival mechanics and stuff like that added on. Not only that, but the Day Before, they don't just have normal zombies, apparently. Like, there are clowns, and the way they made it sound is like you're going to be exploring these underground facilities and stuff to figure out where the virus originated, and maybe fighting like bosses or different types of zombies. So it's probably not just going to be like the Walking Dead type zombies. You're probably going to run into like weird ones. Like it might be a little bit closer to say Resident Evil versus the Walking Dead when it comes to zombies. So it's going to be a fairly different experience compared to the Division, just based on zombies alone. Like if you literally took the Division and then removed all the people and put zombies in the game, it would be a very different game. Even if you kept everything else the same, completely different game. Look at World War Z. Is World War Z a copy of the Division because it's a realistic looking third person shooter game, but they have zombies? No, that's dumb. Come on, let's be honest. That's like saying Naruto is the same as Fairy Tail because they're both anime with protagonists that beat up the bad guys. Like, woo, no. That level of logic is like room temperature IQ, like third grade reading level levels of IQ. You gotta think a little bit more than that, bro. Think. Like your name is Mark. Just think a bit, man. You don't need to be completely different to be different. You just need to be different enough. I don't think that the Day Before is just stealing ideas from the Division. Maybe they got a level of inspiration, but to say they're stealing it or that they're ripping it off, no. You're reaching. You're just a Division stan. Calm down. Now, another key difference is how PvE and PvP work. The Division does have PvP, but it's mainly just the Dark Zone. That's the main place that people really talk about PvP in my experience. There are like team deathmatch type things. People play it, but it's not exactly like the most hype part about Division. Let's be honest. It's probably the Dark Zone. The Dark Zone, basically, you kill PvE enemies, gather super high tier loot, and then you go to an extraction point and basically try to protect your loot so that it can get out of that area and so that you can actually use it. The problem is, not only do you have PvE enemies attacking you, you'll also have PvP other players coming up trying to steal your loot from you. So the PvP in that game is fairly dynamic, and similar to the Day Before, it is PvE VP, player versus enemy versus player. So you could have both enemy NPCs and other players attacking you at the same time. So yes, they are similar in that way, because the Day Before will also have open world PvP, which will allow other players to attack you while you're fighting NPCs. The big difference between these two games is that one, it's open world PvP. You don't have to go to a certain area, which could be an issue to a lot of people, but one is gonna open up the world way more than the Division. If the Division had open world PvP literally everywhere you went, the way that you even play the game would be completely different. That alone once again, would drastically change the gameplay loop of the Division. You'd be a lot more cautious with the way you do things. So that's a huge difference between the two games. Not only that, but we're not even sure how far this will go. We don't have that much information on how crazy the game could actually get. And what I mean by that is the general scope of both of the games. The Division had a very large scope, especially when it first released. It was fairly unique. There weren't that many games that were even close to trying to attempt the things that the Division franchise was attempting to do. But with time, a lot more games have come closer to attempting the things that the Division franchise has already done and is trying to continue to do in the future. The day before though, bro, people thought this game was fake. Like, the scope of this game was so large that people thought that this was a scam, that this game wasn't even real. And now that we're pretty much confirmed that it's real at this point, because like RTX, Nvidia having stuff to do with the game, I'm pretty sure it's real. But the fact that their scope of the game is as high as it is compared to the Division franchise as it is now, so like Division 2, for example, the scope of these games on completely different levels. Like, the Division is like 17 and the day before is Goku. Like, he's getting clapped. I mean, yeah, there was that Super episode. We're not gonna get into that, but the point is, Goku would fold 17 like a lawn chair, bro. He would fold him. I don't think anybody's denying that. 17 would get folded, all right, like an omelet. That man, you hear that? That's the sound of him getting folded, all right? Same thing with the Division. Not to say that the Division is a way worse game. Once again, we haven't even touched the day before yet. And of course, I can't really have concrete ideas or opinions on the game until it actually comes out. But we're just talking about trailers and what we've been shown. The scope of the game is way, way bigger. You can drive in the game. The maps are probably going to be a lot larger. The fact that you can break tires, like, it's a hardcore survival game. Not so much hardcore to where it's like annoying, but it's not going to be like a cakewalk. It's not going to be a survival game where you basically ignore most of the survival mechanics, like let's say Red Dead Redemption Online specifically. Like the food meters and stuff, you don't even have to care. Are they bonuses? Yes, but you don't really need to worry about a lot of those thirst meters, the hunger meter in Red Dead Redemption 2. But in the day before, it seems like it's going to be a really important part of gameplay. You don't want to get too cold, you don't want to get too hungry, stuff like that. And there's a trailer with the mall. The mall was freaking huge. The scope of the day before is insane. It's actually crazy. Like, the size of that mall alone puts a lot of areas in the Division to shame. Let's just be honest. Not only just the size, but the amount of detail put into that. Now, I'm not saying that the Division has little to no detail or anything like that, but just to give the day before credit where credit is due, if it ships like that, that's next gen gaming. Like, whoo, it's getting crazy, man. It's getting wild. You're gonna have a bunch of different players in one world at the same time doing different things, and they can kill each other. You're gonna have vehicles. You're gonna have safe houses that you can customize. You can make your own house. You could customize your guns. There are zombies. There's apparently gonna be a story mode too, so there's gonna be a level of like campaign. I don't know how deep they're gonna go with that, but there's gonna be some type of story that you're supposed to follow through to find out how the outbreak started and stuff like that. You're also going to be trying to upgrade the safe house. And yeah, a lot of these things that I'm saying were in the Division, both 1 and 2, but were they nearly as like detailed and vast as they are in the day before? I don't think they are. Now, to be fair, the Division 2 had things like the weird NPC routing system through the world. So like the NPCs were always doing stuff. They had people going to different safe houses and taking safe houses over. There was a lot going on. To be fair, that's one of the most intelligent AI systems I've ever seen in gaming, period. I highly doubt that the day before will have anything similar to that, or at least not to that level, but there's zombies. There's gonna be zombies everywhere. Like, based off of the trailers, this is gonna be like a mix between Resident Evil and The Division in a huge open world with other players running around, and you have survival mechanics in your own safe house. Like, that's insane. That's actually crazy. Now, of course, once again, all comes down to execution, if they deliver on what they promised. But if we're just looking at trailers, which is where a lot of this criticism and stealing from The Division is coming from, I think it's very unfair to try and say that these people just stole from The Division when it's either setting, gameplay, the general world. I think all that is more or less bullcrap. I've explained multiple points in this video why it's unfair to say that they are stealing from The Division or copying The Division. No, they're similar games. Maybe they have similar game modes. They're both shooters. I mean, is Call of Duty the same as Battlefield? Are they stealing from each other? Is Call of Duty stealing from Battlefield? It's not necessarily stealing from the other game. They're similar. They're gonna have similar characteristics. The Day Before has shown in trailers, in my opinion, assuming that it releases the way that they're showing and describing the game to us as, it has shown that it is very different from The Division. And honestly, this could be the best survival game in recent years, if not ever, especially if we're talking about multiplayer zombie survival, because DayZ, hot trash. Look at DayZ and then look at The Day Before. It's not even a contest. It's getting dunked on. It's gonna be like LeBron going to a to a freaking preschool class and challenging one of the kids to a basketball game. Like, it's dangerous. Like, stop it. DayZ isn't even coming close to the amount of detail or to the scope of The Day Before. Now, once again, for the last time, this game might suck. It might come out and be hot doo-doo garbage. It might be the worst survival game ever created. I don't know. But based on the trailers, it's very unique. It's what a lot of people have been asking for, not just Division fans, but zombie fans, survival game fans, and just multiplayer shooter fans. I think you're just upset because The Division hasn't released Division 3 or a new Division 2 update, and you're salty. That's what I think. I don't think it's fair to say they stole from The Division. I think that's bullcrap. That's my opinion on it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully I managed to brighten up your day and not just piss you off. Please keep in mind, a lot of these are just jokes. To some extent, there is some truth in there, but don't get too angry. Hopefully this was somewhat entertaining and help improve your day in some way. Give me a like if it did, please. Thank you. I'd appreciate it. I desperately need them. Anyway, thanks for watching. God bless. Lights out.